I've got a big stack of ULEZ fines. I'm up to about 215,000 on that at the moment. I couldn't resist it. One day I went past him and just sprayed him with it, but he did get quite upset. Quite a few vans did leave Hillingdon on recovery trucks with broken windows and paint all over them. I am on bail for conspiracy to commit criminal damage on ULEZ cameras to the value of 21 million.
Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Today we have another great guest on, another activist fighting against the horrific ULEZ. So today, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Van Hunter Phil. Phil, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
Very well, thank you. So people, I don't know if you remember before, we had Matt Houston on, aka Blade Runner. So if you haven't, go back and watch that. But Phil's part of the same sort of activists that are fighting against, obviously, the horrific ULEZ. I don't know how to even describe it. But Phil, do you want to give us a little bit of a background then about how you sort of got into it and how you sort of started fighting against it, or what sort of got your back up against it, which is sort of obvious question, and go from there?
Yeah. I was living in near Wembley when they expanded the original ULEZ out to the North and South Circular. And although I didn't fall into it, all my work was within that ULEZ zone. So I lost 90% of my work because I couldn't afford a ULEZ compliant vehicle and I couldn't afford the ULEZ fees. So I lost 90% of my work. I relocated out to one of the outer boroughs, Northwood, and I used all my savings to open up a workshop-based carpentry business. And then they expanded the ULEZ out to the Northwood as well. So I got caught in it for a second time. So that's what annoyed me about it. But things really changed for me when just after ULEZ started, it was during the 3 hottest days we'd had that year. And there was an 86-year-old man who lived in Harrow, and he needed to go to Northwick Park Hospital for an appointment. And he couldn't afford the £12.50 to go to the hospital. So he walked. It was only 2 miles. But bear in mind, an 86-year-old on one of the hottest days we'd had that year, unfortunately, he died on the roundabout outside the hospital. So ULEZ had, they implemented ULEZ because one person had it mentioned on their death certificate that it was pollution-based. So when that old man died, that was, it was the same amount of people had died because of it as had died, to support it.
And that was sort of a breaking point for you, but obviously how had it affected your business prior to that? Had it had significant effects on everything you tried to do?
It put me out of business. I was going and doing quotes for people, and, the question would come up, or they noticed that I didn't have a ULEZ compliant vehicle. To me, it wasn't an issue. I just flatly refused to pay it anyway. But, I had customers ringing me back and saying, sorry, we're not going to use you because we've gone for somebody with a ULEZ compliant vehicle. So I did lose quite a lot of business over it. And and my fight against the ULEZ has sort of cost me my business. So
horrific. And so after that sort of breaking point, then had you seen what Matty had been doing before this, and how did you sort of get involved in the activism work to start with, Phil?
I joined all the Facebook groups, the anti-ULEZ Facebook groups, and Matt was just sort of coming on the scene then, and he was doing little lives on Facebook. And I thought, I did admire Matt for what he was doing. He was standing up and fighting, and I wanted to do the same. So I got in touch with somebody who did put me in touch with Matt. And that was when Van Hunter Phil was created. And, Matt and I, whenever a van turned up in Hillingdon that needed blocking, it was always me and Matt that got tagged. And, people knew we were in the fight together. So, we were linked right at the very beginning.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you had your fair share of confrontations with the likes of James and these other security
Oh, yeah,
guys
yeah,
and the
yeah,
foreign
yeah.
ones or anything like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a Romanian one that he literally came right up to my face and was intimidating me, and he got told where to go and got pushed back. And I had a couple of run-ins with James. James didn't like me. I mean, the feeling was mutual. I didn't like him either. So,
Were you there? Were you ever there when they got sprayed with any sort of stuff or food or anything like this? Or
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I did. I did spray one with whitewash. It was, I mean, I don't know whether you know what whitewash is. They put it on the windows when they're decorating so people can't see it. And when it dries, it goes to powder and just brushes off. And I always had a bottle of that in my pickup truck because I was a decorator. And I couldn't resist it. One day I went past him and just sprayed him with it. But he did get quite upset. But I guarantee by the time he got home, it would have been dried and brushed off by the time he got home. So. It
yeah,
wasn't paint. They tried to spin it that it was white spirit, and it wasn't white spirit. It was whitewash. So
indeed. And so within Hillingdon then, is there still ULEZ cameras and do the vans still come there? Or have they sort of left that area at all?
no, the vans finished very quickly. It was costing them too much money, and they weren't making any money because we were blocking them when they were parked up. Quite a few vans did leave Hillingdon on recovery trucks with broken windows and paint all over them. So it was costing them more than they were making. So that finished very quickly. Then, our focus then turned to, we used to go and do protests at big junctions, and we would hold signs in front of the static ULEZ cameras then. And other people progressed to putting stickers on or spraying a little bit of paint on them just to inconvenience them more than anything else. I mean, the next day they would send a cleaning crew out that all the cameras had protective lens covers. So they just cleaned those off and they were back in action again. It just inconvenienced them. It didn't damage the camera in any way. So,
Brilliant. And obviously, once you'd hit this breaking point and now you were sort of becoming active and the protests and all stuff like this, I'm guessing it goes without saying that you'd stop paying the ULEZ charge. Is that correct?
yeah, I mean, my pickup truck, I was very lucky when I bought my pickup truck. It was, I bought it from a friend of a friend whose dad had died, and it was his pickup truck. And he didn't like ULEZ either. And he said to me, leave it registered to us. They're not going to chase a deadband for the fines. So I made sure the truck was insured and MOT'd and taxed, and it was registered to somebody else. So I didn't get the fines for that. But we know of a guy in South London who did a very similar thing to me, and he owed 4.3 million in ULEZ fines. So I think mine would have been about 3 million on my pickup truck. So
That's pretty impressive, regardless.
yeah. So, but my vehicle I've got now, it is registered to me. I'm getting the ULEZ fines coming through. I've got a big stack of ULEZ fines. I'm up to about 215,000 on that at the moment.
So between the two of you, then there's obviously nearly £8 million in fines. Do you know how much roughly they're owed in total and how much debt they're in then?
Yeah, TfL are owed 800 million in unpaid ULEZ fines. And TfL are also 13 billion in debt overall. So I don't know of any other company that would still be running in that state.
It's absolutely nuts. And you hear a lot of people that say that, oh, it's the taxpayer that's going to end up having to suffer this and all this sort of stuff. And that's not actually true, is it, Phil?
No, when ULEZ first started, the Transport Secretary was Grant Shapps, I believe. And he wrote a letter to Sadiq Khan saying no public money is to be used for ULEZ. It has to be self-funding. So, I mean, yes, ultimately, the people that are paying the ULEZ fines, they're taxpayers. They are paying it. but a good chunk of us aren't paying it, and it doesn't affect your council tax. I see the posts on Facebook, where they say, oh, great, our council tax is going to go up. It's not going to have any bearing on ULEZ at all. So,
And just to be clear, then, Phil, obviously you've ended up owing hundreds of thousands, if not millions, for this stuff. Why haven't they came round and sort of taken your possessions or something like this? Do you want to inform people just in case they worry?
It's a civil debt. I mean, there is a legal route to getting the fines slowed down or getting them sent back to TfL and then they reissue them. But, you have to keep doing that over and over. It's a civil matter. TfL on their own website when ULEZ started said that you couldn't get a CCJ through ULEZ. So, and you can Google that and it says you can't get a CCJ through it. So they've got very limited powers, these civil enforcement officers. So, if you've got the guts to stand up to them, then you'll be fine. They've been out to me 3 times now and I send them away with their tail between their legs every time. So unless they physically catch me out on the road and clamp me, but I'll deal with that. If they do that, I don't care.
Indeed. So, talking about a little bit of the history of ULEZ then, because I know the idea had been there for years and years and years, but who was it that actually brought it into practice? Was it Sadiq Khan, and was it his decision to?
Yes, Sadiq Khan brought it in. I believe the original ULEZ expansion came just after COVID. And of course, TfL had lost vast amounts of money during COVID because people weren't going on the tubes, people weren't going to work. So, they lost vast amounts of money. And I think they expanded it out to the North and South Circular as a way of recouping some of that money. I mean, Boris Johnson, when he was in power, he did look at it. Again, I see posts on Facebook where they say, oh, no, Boris Johnson started all this. They looked at it. They didn't implement it. They looked at it. And it was only going to be in the congestion charging zone as well, originally. So, but Sadiq Khan expanded it. And then he did the consultation where, 80% of the people said no, and he did it anyway.
It's crazy. And so talk about, obviously you said you've gone and sort of protested. You said you've gone and obstructed the van people, but have you actually gone out there, or I'm not asking you to incriminate yourself, but have you actually been out there while people are cutting down the actual signs at all?
Yeah, I've been there when it's happened. Yeah, I've been there when it's happened. I've been lucky enough to video it occasionally. People used to send me messages and say, be at so-and-so junction tonight, something might happen. So it was never a definite. I didn't know who it was doing it, but, I'm always happy there to be there and film it. I have taken some direct action. I was taken to court for damaging 2 ULEZ cameras. And, I fought TfL then because they lied about the value of the cameras. They said that I destroyed 2 cameras totaling £16,000, but it turned out in the end, after 3 Crown Court hearings, that it was only £3,000 damage. So, they lied to get it to Crown Court to get a stiff sentence.
And so did you get arrested on the scene while this was going on, or with?
Yeah. No, I was arrested for actually doing the damage. That I was caught on CCTV, and a passerby came past, and the guy I was with had a little bit of an argument with him because he was saying, oh, it's vandalism, and we were trying to explain why we were doing it. And this guy said, oh, I'm going to take a photograph of you and call the police. And the guy I was with said, go on then. So he did. And we got caught. So
how were the police when they were with you? Were they harsh with you, or did they show some sort of understanding, or?
Yeah. Most of the police, through all our dealings with the police, I've heard of police officers that will park their car just outside Uxbridge so they don't get caught in the ULEZ zone, and they'll walk into work. Another serving policeman, when I went to pick my property up from the police station after my court case, the policeman said, you guys did well. When we sort of questioned him, what do you mean? He said, all I'm going to say is you did well. The custody sergeant, when we got arrested, she was asked what's your view on Mr. Khan? And her answer was, all I'll say is we lost a good police commissioner. So he's not well liked by anybody.
Of
So,
course. And so what did you get charged with in court or convicted
I
of?
got charged with, I was convicted of criminal damage on 2 cameras. Because of the issues with them lying about the figures, in the end, they said, oh, we made a mistake. We got the wrong 2 cameras. And, I couldn't understand why 2 cameras up the road are £16,000, but the 2 that we did were only 3. That didn't make any sense to me. But the court told them they had to produce paperwork to prove this value, and they didn't do it in the end. So the judge said he was going to do it. Could have been dealt with at magistrates rather than having 3 Crown Court visits and, and a waste of money. And he dealt with it as a magistrate. So we got a very small fine. I got a 12-month community order, so I have to behave for 12 months. And part of that community order was that I had to reside at my home address for 7 days. That was my punishment. No tag, no curfew. I just had to live there for 7 days. So.
Well, maybe the judge didn't look down so much upon what you were doing. I'm sure he could have been a little bit harsher.
He could have been. He could have. I mean, the prosecutor. I had to sit and listen to the prosecutor. When they were basing the value on £16,000, the prosecutor was saying, "Well, no, the minimum time for this is 4 months." And it was. And when it turned out, it was only their value went down to 3,000, and in the end, the judge took our valuation of £2,000. So that was it. It was £2,000 worth of damage. So. But TfL didn't get any repercussions for getting it wrong. They made a mistake. They said that was it.
And what's the current state of the sort of fight against ULEZ? How active are you at the moment, Phil, in the stuff? Are you going out protesting? Are you trying to be as active as possible?
Yeah, I'm still protesting. I have to make sure I stick to the legal route at the moment because I am on bail for conspiracy to commit criminal damage on ULEZ cameras to the value of 21 million. So,
I'm on. And so,
yeah.
What's that court case come from? Then explain that.
Well, they seem to think there was 8 of us arrested last July in 5 a.m. raids. I had 23 police officers, 2 dog handlers, and a vet at my property at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I mean, even then, when the policeman said it was conspiracy to commit criminal damage to the value of 21 million, he had a little smirk on his face, So, they get it. But, so I'm still on bail for that. So they're trying to.
Are you released under investigation or have you actually been charged?
No, I haven't been charged, but I'm still on bail. I've got various conditions. I'm not allowed to speak to certain people. I'm not allowed to have any metal cutting blades out in public. I'm not allowed to have any stickers that are capable of covering a camera out in public. So, but the protesting we do now is, there's a lot of cameras around Hillingdon that are permanently not working because the power boxes have been destroyed. Now they need a work permit to fix that. So we know when they're coming and we just go and stand on the site and they can't do anything. So, and that's not illegal. So we are still doing stuff.
And this might sound like a stupid question, but what is your goal and sort of yours and likes of Matt and all this sort of stuff?
To get rid of ULEZ. I mean, the way I see ULEZ is it's not the be all and end all. It's the start. They've done it in Oxford with their 15-minute zones. And I think that's what they're aiming for all over the country, and they would need thousands of cameras to do that. So, the London ULEZ zone has just been a test bed for them, but we would like to get it stopped. I think if certain politicians get in, it will get stopped. But,
yeah, because obviously you mentioned the debt. Obviously, it's not sustainable. So,
no.
How long do you think this could carry on for? Because obviously they're getting in more billions and billions of debt each year. It's accumulating.
Yeah.
And so surely someone, obviously maybe Sadiq Khan's not the man to see sense with it, or is it his decision to end it, or was it the government's decision to end it? Like what?
The government tried when he was implementing it. the government did sort of say to him, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he, yeah, and he stuck to it and did it. We need a different mayor in that will get rid of it. The mayor has been given far too much power by previous governments. He can overrule the government in London because he's got, he's the mayor. So we need a different mayor to start with. But yeah.
Okay. And so for people who are hearing you, Phil, and they're thinking, what a guy Matty was. I want to go out there and support the cause, and I'm going to go and chop down some things. Obviously, that surely could be quite dangerous in terms of the electricals and stuff like this. We don't want people going out there and electrocute themselves.
No,
How dangerous is it,
apparently
Phil?
well, the mains power, so into a black box which is on the side of the road, and then that then gets reduced down to about 24 volts. So it's only very low voltage from there onwards. So as long as they're not cutting the box in half, cutting the pole won't hurt them.
Okay, and so
same with the traffic. All the traffic lights are 24 volt.
okay, and so from what you've seen as well, how difficult is it to cut through these things, and what sort of blades, from your experience, seem to be the most effective from when you've watched other people doing it, Phil?
With the right saw and the right saw blade, 3 seconds to cut a camera down.
And how much would one of these cost you, Phil?
About £240 for the saw, and the blades are about £30 each. So,
okay, do you have to change the blade each time or do the people have to change the blade? More better question. Each time they chop one down.
No, from what I hear, they're getting between sort of 6 and 10 out of one blade. So it's about £5 a camera is costing them. So
okay, and so for people who don't want to sort of proactively go out there on their own doing it, but want to sort of join the cause and sort of support you guys, whether it's support you on your socials or come to some of these protests, how can they do that, Phil? What's the best place to get in touch with you?
Just TikTok. Follow me on TikTok, Van Hunter Phil. You can get hold of Matt on Facebook or TikTok, and just watch our social media. You'll know when the events are. You'll know when the protests are. You'll know when we're blocking. And, just come along. When we're on the side of the road blocking an install, come and join us. We have coffee. We have, we even have people come in occasionally with a gas cooker, and we have bacon sandwiches, on the side of the road. It's perfectly legal. We never get in any trouble. The police always come out, but we're not doing anything wrong, so they will usually leave. So, but yeah, they can get involved by, just following us and keeping the message out there, keeping it relevant.
And in terms of the support, has it grown or has it faded? Because when it first sort of happened and people were active, Matty and all that, and I'm sure loads of people are, especially in the summer and stuff like this. Is it? What's the support like at this point? Because it's been years now.
Yeah, the support's still good. I'm admin on a couple of the Facebook groups, and I can see in some of those groups we're getting 2,500 followers a week. And that's on top of the 25,000 we've already got in there. A couple of the groups have got 80 odd thousand in there. If every one of those people went out and did one thing, this would all be over.
Of course. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, in due time then, more people can get involved, like the likes of yourself and the likes of Matty. And for people who don't want to sort of actively get out there, but they want to maybe support financially, are there GoFundMes and stuff like this where they can sort of get in touch and sort of support the cause? Or
I know Matt's got Buy Me a Coffee. There is, if they go in a couple of the Facebook groups, there is links for GoFundMes. I've never really dealt with any of the GoFundMes because I don't want people to think I'm in it to make money, because I'm not. My TikTok account isn't monetized. I don't get anything from my videos. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because it's wrong. It shouldn't be there.
Okay. Is there anything sort of coming up in the near future that you can speak about? Any sort of protests or any sort of gatherings or anything like this?
In South London, they're out every week blocking installs. So there's always something going on. But as I say, join the Facebook groups. There's plenty of anti-ULEZ or no ULEZ Facebook groups, and they give you all sorts of information. They'll give you information on how to deal with bailiffs. You know, you get letter templates to make bailiffs go away completely. You know, the help is out there. So, but that's the best way to support us is get in the groups and join us.
Okay, perfect. Guys, if you're not sure about that, I'm going to put Phil's TikTok details in the description box below. So go into that, and I'm sure Phil will be happy for you to message him and
Yeah,
point you in the right directions if you do want to get involved or support at all. But I mean, I'd like to really thank you for your work, Phil, everything that you've done, and commend you for the sacrifice of what you've been through and what you continue to
yeah,
go through in terms of for the fight, because people do need to sort of put themselves on the line rather than the people who
yeah,
aren't fighting, they're not voting and they expect things to change. And it's just impossible that
yeah,
way, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. So we just need to keep people aware. We need to keep it current. We need to keep it relevant. And if we can do that, we can win.
Well, like I said, obviously the weather's so bad in this country over the winter months. I'm sure it becomes a lot more active in the summer where people don't mind being out for hours at a time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine. I mean, we during the summer when we were blocking the vans when they first came out, we were 8 or 9 hours stood behind the van, and we did
Incredible.
that in rain. We did that in sun or rain. It didn't make any difference to us. We were still going to be there. So
Yeah, well done, mate. But all right, Phil. Well, look, I'd like to massively thank you for your time, and then hopefully at some point maybe I can attend one of these protests with you and get it on camera and all this
yeah,
sort of stuff. But again, well done. Thank you for your time, guys. Please get in contact with Phil. Link in the description box below. And yeah, if any way I can support you, I will, Phil, because I definitely support the
brilliant.
cause.
Thanks.